After my son and I were rushed to the ER from a hit and run, I texted the family group. We're okay. Scared but alive. No replies. Just a stream of brunch photos from my niece's party. 3 days later I got 28 missed calls and a single text from my dad. Pick up. It's urgent. I did. And the first thing I heard was, why you forgot to pay the mortgage yesterday. The first thing I remember tasting was blood. It had pooled in my mouth by the time I opened my eyes. Everything was sideways. My ears were ringing so loudly I couldn't hear my son at first, but then I caught his scream, panicked, high-pitched, desperate. That's what made me move. We were upside down. I could see shattered glass where the windshield used to be, and Daniel was still strapped in his booster seat, crying. My arms moved before my brain could. I unbuckled, half fell to the roof of the car and reached for him. Someone outside was shouting, but their voice sounded muffled like we were underwater. The last normal moment was a red light just a few blocks from home. I'd picked Daniel up from a friend's birthday party, and he was showing me a tiny plastic dinosaur he got in the goodie bag. I was smiling at it. That's the image frozen in my head. And then, nothing. No screeching tires, no warning. Just impact. A sickening crunch and the world flipping over. In the air they kept saying we were lucky. No major injuries. No internal bleeding. Daniel had bruising from the seatbelt and some scrapes. I had a mild concussion, whiplash, and a split lip. But we were alive. The hospital room smelled like bleach and plastic. Daniel had finally fallen asleep, curled up beside me in a hospital bed that was way too big for him. I opened my phone and sent one message to the family group chat. Okay, here but alive. Just got out of the ER. Hit and run. Someone ran a light and flipped us. I stared at the screen, waiting for those little dots to appear. Waiting for someone to ask if we needed anything. Waiting for someone to care. Instead, the screen lit up with photos. Mimosas. Smiling faces. My niece's 8th birthday brunch at some trendy rooftop spot downtown. There was a boomerang of champagne glasses clinking. A group shot with my brother Adam in the center, doing that smug half-smile he's always had. There was even a photo of the cake with #BlessedBirthdayGirl in sparkly pink letters. Nothing else. No reply. No call. No, are you okay? Not even an emoji. I locked my phone and sat there in the quiet, listening to the 4 beep next to my son. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel anger yet. Just numb. And a little stupid, I guess, for expecting something different. The thing is, my relationship with my family has always been complicated. I'm not the black sheep. I'm just the forgotten one. Adam was always the star. The charming one. The one who crashed a car in college and my parents paid it off in cash. The one who somehow had a mortgage by 28. Except I was the one secretly covering most of his payments. They didn't know. Or maybe they pretended not to. Either way, I had been helping out for the past year quietly. Because that's who I was to them. The one who handled things. The one who showed up. The one who fixed things when Adam broke them. I gave them 3 days. 3 days to at least pretend to care. Nothing. Then my phone started blowing up. 28 missed calls, mostly from my dad and my mom, a couple from Adam. I stared at the list. No voicemails. Just missed calls. Like they were trying to make a point. Then finally one text from my dad. Just one line. Pick up. It's urgent. I thought maybe someone had gotten hurt. Or maybe they'd finally seen the hospital message and realized how bad it was. Some part of me still wanted to believe that. So I picked up. And the first thing I heard was my dad's voice, not frantic, not worried. Why you forgot to pay the mortgage yesterday? I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Something broke in me at that moment. Clean and quiet like a snapped wire. And that's where everything started to change. I didn't answer him. I listened to my dad on the other end of the line, pacing through his usual frustration, asking again why the mortgage hadn't gone through. He wasn't asking if I was okay. He wasn't even curious about the accident. Just laser-focused on the payment. When he paused, maybe expecting me to explain, I hung up. Not in anger. Not as some kind of power move. I just ended the call and turned the phone face down on the table. Daniel was asleep again, finally. He'd been up most of the night, still rattled, asking if the crashing car was going to come back. I told him no, that we were safe. But I wasn't sure I believed it. I didn't tell him I'd been paying Uncle Adam's mortgage. He was too young to understand that kind of thing. I didn't even tell most of my friends. It wasn't something I was proud of. It started a year ago when Adam fell behind. He said he just needed help for a few months until he caught up after switching jobs. My parents pitched it like it was temporary, a family favor. I agreed because it felt like the right thing to do at the time. 12 months later, I was still making the payments. I used to tell myself I did it for Daniel. To keep things peaceful, to avoid drama, to hold the family together. But after the hit and run, all I could think about was how fast they'd ignored me. How quickly the silence came. Until the money didn't. The next morning I had 14 new texts. Most were from Adam. Hey, did the payment bounce? Let me know ASAP, I've got utilities lined up too. Can you just send it late this month? I'll sort it out next time. Emily, come on. Don't do this now. There was still no mention of the accident. Nothing about Daniel. Nothing about me. Then came the group text from my mom. I wish you had communicated better about the payment. Adam is really stressed. We could have helped figure something out if you were struggling. Not a word about the car. Not even a late follow-up to the hospital message I sent. Just that, concern disguised as disappointment, like I'd let them down somehow. For the first time I didn't feel guilty. I felt used. A week passed. I kept the phone on silent and ignored every call. I canceled the recurring transfer. I took Daniel to the local park, helped him build a Lego police station on the dining table, and made us pancakes in the shape of dinosaurs. I gave myself permission not to care about anyone else's needs for once. Then my mom showed up. She knocked like it was a regular Sunday visit. I opened the door just a crack. She had a brown paper bag from the pharmacy and a plastic container of soup, probably store-bought but pretending to be homemade. She stepped inside without waiting for me to say anything. Walked into my kitchen like she still had keys, even though I changed the locks months ago. She gave Daniel a quick smile and a pat on the head, then turned to me. You should have said something, she said, like I hadn't already. We didn't realize it was that bad. That bad? The word choice was almost funny. I'd texted them from a hospital bed. We were lucky to be alive. But in her mind, bad only started when the bills got missed. I didn't reply. Then she said the thing I'd known was coming. You know Adam's depending on that payment, right? I didn't raise my voice. I just said, he's 36. And I swear she looked at me like I'd just slapped her. Not because I was wrong, but because I was no longer playing my role. Because I wasn't bending anymore. I was done. She left 15 minutes later, still trying to sound calm, still slipping in lines like, just think about what this does to the family. But I already had. I'd been thinking about it since the moment I woke up in a flipped car with my son crying beside me. The mortgage stayed unpaid. I didn't explain myself again. A few days later, Adam sent one last text. If the payment doesn't go through by Friday, I'm screwed. I stared at it and then I deleted it. No reply. No transfer. No explanation. The silence that followed felt different this time. Not cold. Not angry. Just peaceful. But deep down I knew they weren't going to let it end there. Friday came and I didn't send the payment. I watched the deadline pass with a kind of calm I didn't recognize in myself. For over a year that date had been branded into my brain. The day I bailed out my brother while pretending nothing was wrong. Every month without fail I moved money around, made it work, told myself it was temporary. That we were family. That eventually they'd help me back. But that Friday I chose silence. And the silence afterward was loud. No one called that morning. No text came right away. But I could feel the tension through the phone even before it rang. Like everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see if I'd snap back into place. The first voicemail came around noon. My dad's voice, formal and short. Emily, you didn't send it. We need to talk. That was it. No mention of Daniel. No concern for how we were feeling. Just a sharp reminder that I had broken routine. I didn't respond. A few hours later, Adam texted. Payment bounced. I checked twice. What happened? Then another one. Is this about the accident? Look, I get it, that was scary. But this isn't the time to fall apart. That one hit something deep. I wasn't falling apart. I was finally standing up. I left it on read. The next day he came to my apartment. He didn't call first. Just showed up, knocking like I was obligated to open the door. I saw him through the peephole, standing there with his hands in his pockets like it was just some casual visit. I almost didn't answer. But Daniel was asleep and I didn't want this dragging out. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Adam got straight to the point. Said the mortgage company called, late fees were stacking and he didn't have enough to cover. Said our parents were stressed, especially mom. Said this was putting everyone in a bad position. I didn't say anything at first. I let him list his problems like a grocery receipt. When he finally paused, I said, I'm not paying it anymore. He blinked. I don't think he believed me. He said, what, just because nobody texted you fast enough after the accident? You're gonna leave us hanging? He laughed a little, like it was ridiculous. Like I was being overly emotional. I told him I'd waited 3 days in silence before I made this decision. I told him about watching my son get treated in a trauma room while our family flooded the chat with selfies and cupcakes. I told him the first words out of our dad's mouth weren't even about Daniel, but about a missed payment. He didn't argue with that. Instead he said something I'll never forget. That's just how our family works, Em. You know that. We don't do the emotional stuff. And I realized he was right. They didn't do the emotional stuff. They didn't do check-ins or show concern unless it cost them something. And even then they did it begrudgingly like it was a chore. I'd spent years being their emotional translator, their financial backup, their constant. But I wasn't doing it anymore. I said it again. Slower this time. I'm not paying your mortgage. Not now. Not ever again. That's when he got angry. He said I was punishing everyone over a misunderstanding. That I was putting myself above the family. That I'd regret this. That I'd need them one day and they wouldn't forget. I didn't say a word. I just opened the door, stepped back inside and shut it quietly. He didn't knock again. Later that night my parents sent a long group message. Read like a press release. Full of passive-aggressive lines like, "We're disappointed it's come to this. Adam has always leaned on you because he trusts you. We don't want to escalate this, but we need to know if we can count on you moving forward." I read it twice. Then I sent one reply. "I won't be sending any more payments. I'm done playing the dependable one while the rest of you disappear until you need something. I don't owe any of you an explanation. I'm taking care of me and Daniel now. That's it." I muted the chat. No one responded. But the next day I saw Adam's car parked outside our parents' house. Then the following week my mom called from a different number. I didn't answer. By the end of that month, the late notices turned into threats. I heard from a mutual friend that Adam had started asking our parents for money again. That they were helping where they could. The safety net was gone. And for the first time I wasn't in it with them. I was on the ground building something new. Something mine. 2 weeks after I stopped the payments I was starting to sleep better. Daniel was healing. No more waking up in the middle of the night, no more asking if we were going to get hit again. I was finally breathing. I'd blocked the group chat, set strict limits on screen time for myself, and started reading again before bed instead of doom scrolling through other people's family lives that looked nothing like mine. Then I got a call from a local number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail while Daniel and I were baking cookies. I didn't think much of it until I checked my phone later and heard a man's voice, low and professional. "Hi, this is Officer Dalton from Oak Hill PD. Nothing urgent, just following up on a report involving your brother Adam Lewis. He listed you as an emergency contact. If you could give us a call back when you have a moment, I'd appreciate it." I played it twice, just to be sure. Emergency contact? I called back the next morning and the officer explained that Adam had been arrested the night before for a DUI. He'd swerved off the road and clipped a parked car. No injuries. But the kicker? The car belonged to a city official. Dashcam footage. It was his second offense. The officer asked if I'd be helping with bail. I told him no. He paused for a second like he didn't expect that answer. Then he said, "Understood. I'll mark that and move down the contact list." That was the first time in years someone had called me about Adam because something had gone wrong for him, not something I needed to fix. That afternoon I got a text from my mom. "You couldn't even help your brother this once? After everything?" I didn't answer. I wasn't interested in defending myself anymore. I'd spent years playing the role of the fallback option. No one ever asked if I could help, just assumed I would. Then a few days later something arrived in the mail that made my stomach drop. A thick envelope with my name on it, return address from a mortgage lender. I thought maybe it was some leftover paperwork from when I canceled the payment setup. I opened it. It was a formal cosigner request. From Adam. He had given them my full name and address. Told them I might be willing to take over the loan fully. No warning, no heads up, nothing. Just slid me into his mess like I was another checkbox. The attached note had the nerve to call it a formality, like I was doing him a favor by not saying no yet. I called the lender immediately and told them in very clear terms that I had never agreed to co-sign anything. The woman on the other end was polite, even sounded a little embarrassed for me. She said they'd flag the file and remove my name. I wasn't legally attached to it. Not yet. I thanked her, hung up and just sat at the kitchen table staring at the paperwork for a while. He really tried to pass his mortgage off on me like it was just another baton in a family relay race. And this time he didn't even ask. That night I got a message from my dad. Just one line. "You're tearing this family apart with your selfishness." I sat with that for a long time. This from the man who didn't call when I was in the ER. The man who hadn't once asked about his grandson since the accident. The man who only reached out when money didn't move on schedule. I didn't reply. Instead I went into Daniel's room. He was reading under his covers with a flashlight. His latest obsession was a comic book about a raccoon who flew spaceships. I sat on the floor next to his bed until he looked up. "Mom," he whispered, "we're not seeing Grandpa and Grandma soon, right?" I shook my head. He nodded and said, "Good." That night I cried. Not because I was sad but because I felt this strange, quiet relief. Like I'd been carrying a house on my back for years and only now realized I could step out from under it. The fallout was happening. I could feel the cracks forming. Adam was in trouble and now it was their problem. They had built this house around him, protected him, propped him up, paid his way, guilt me into being the safety net. No. Now the floor was giving way under all of them. And I was finally off it, watching it crumble from solid ground. By the start of the next month I could feel it unraveling. Not gradually but like a building with one too many cracks finally collapsing under its own weight. I didn't have to go looking for updates. My family made sure the fallout kept landing in my lap. I'd already blocked most of their numbers but they found workarounds. Emails. Voicemails from unfamiliar numbers. A message left through Daniel's elementary school attendance office, flagged as a family emergency. They were determined to get through but never for the reasons that mattered. Adam had missed 2 mortgage payments. Then a third. At some point my dad had stepped in, probably thinking it was temporary. But the truth was the hole was deeper than anyone admitted, and he couldn't keep bailing water from a sinking boat with a coffee mug. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that he'd cashed out a portion of their retirement account to keep the loan alive another month. They didn't tell me that themselves, of course. My parents had gone from disappointed to cold and now they were just quiet. Like they were waiting for me to feel guilty enough to step back in. But I didn't. Then I got a call from a credit monitoring service I'd signed up for years ago and forgot about. They flagged a suspicious loan application filed under my name. Different address. Same last name. Same phone number Adam used to use when we were still talking. It hadn't gone through. There were enough inconsistencies to trigger a manual review, and my account was frozen before any damage was done. But the fact that he actually tried, to take out a loan in my name? That was something else entirely. I didn't report it right away. I just sat with it for a full day staring at the flagged alert on my screen trying to decide if I was shocked or just tired. Then in the middle of it all, Daniel brought home a drawing from school. It was a picture of a house, our apartment, and a stick figure version of me and him holding hands. There was a sun in the corner, a tree, and above it, in giant block letters, he'd written, "I love my mom because she keeps me safe." I taped it to the fridge and didn't cry until he went to sleep. Because that's what all of this had been about. Not revenge. Not pride. Not resentment. It was about finally protecting something that actually mattered. Not Adam's house. Not my parents' comfort. Not their version of what family should be. Just me and Daniel. A few days later, I got an email from the mortgage company addressed to parties formerly involved. Adam had defaulted. The foreclosure was in motion. 30 days to vacate. The house, the one I'd secretly been helping cover for over a year, the one they all treated like it was untouchable, sacred, was officially being taken back by the bank. That same day my mom called from a number I didn't recognize. Left a voicemail that started with her crying and ended with her blaming me. "You know we're not in a position to help him long term. You knew that. I just don't understand how you could stand by while this happens." Not once did she mention Daniel. Not once did she ask how I was doing. They were losing the house. Their golden boy was sleeping on their couch. And now their emergency fund was gone too. I finally sat down that night and wrote one last email. No emotion. Just facts. I will not be financially responsible for Adam's life anymore. Any further use of my name or information will be treated as identity theft and reported. Do not contact me about money. Do not involve Daniel. This conversation is over. I didn't wait for a reply, because I didn't need one. The next morning I deleted the last payment reminders from my calendar. I unsubscribed from their bank's automated alerts. I blocked every number I hadn't already. It felt like scraping the last moldy layer off a wound that had been festering for years. The silence that followed was the cleanest sound I'd ever heard. I started cooking again. Planning actual meals. Daniel and I painted the hallway with colors he picked himself. Bright greens and ocean blues. I found a therapist. I started sleeping full nights. And for the first time when I looked at my life I didn't see damage control. I saw peace. Because while they were watching the house fall apart, I was finally building something real. Winter came fast that year. It hit like a final period at the end of a long dragging sentence. The air felt clearer, colder, more honest. The kind of cold that wakes you up but not in a bad way, like something finally telling the truth. It had been months since I cut them off completely. No more calls. No more messages. No surprise letters or passive-aggressive emails. Just silence. And for once it felt like a gift. Adam lost the house. He and my parents moved fast to make it look like they were transitioning, like it was all part of some plan. But the truth trickled in through neighbors, old family acquaintances, people who had no reason to lie. My parents started helping cover Adam's rent for a smaller place across town. They never mentioned it directly, but someone forwarded me a fundraising link his ex had posted for their daughter's cheer competition. One I used to quietly cover every year without being asked. The goal hadn't been met. And no one reached out to me. Daniel and I were doing better than we had in years. I'd started therapy. Not the kind you go to for a month and then drift away from, but real, consistent sessions where I actually unpacked things I never realized I'd been carrying. I talked about the accident. About the silence afterward. About the unpaid mortgage. But mostly I talked about the years before it. The constant quiet pressure to be the fixer. The one who didn't cause trouble. The one who didn't ask for anything. That person was gone now. And in her place I was figuring out who I actually was when I wasn't being twisted into a utility. Daniel thrived. He slept through the night. Started drawing more, asking big questions, telling long winding stories with no real endings. His teacher emailed to say he'd become a calm, confident leader in class. I printed that sentence and stuck it inside a kitchen drawer I opened every morning. One afternoon in February I ran into someone at the grocery store who used to go to church with my parents. She looked surprised to see me and said, "Your dad mentioned you were going through something, but I guess it's worked out?" I just smiled and nodded. I didn't feel the need to explain. 'Cause yeah, it had worked out. Not for them, but for me. I never got a real apology. No long letter admitting they were wrong. No sudden wave of accountability. Just silence. Which turned out to be more healing than anything they could have said. I saved more money in 3 months than I had in the last 2 years combined. No more secret transfers. No more last-minute emergencies that only I seemed to handle. I started planning a summer trip for me and Daniel. Somewhere quiet. Mountains maybe. Sometimes the guilt tried to come back. It usually showed up in the evening in small thoughts like, what if they're struggling? What if they need you? But I'd gotten better at recognizing guilt for what it was. A trick. A leftover reflex from when survival meant being useful. I'd survived. I didn't need to be useful anymore. I needed to be whole. On the anniversary of the accident, Daniel and I lit a candle and said nothing. We just sat on the couch, the two of us under a shared blanket, watching the flame flicker in a jar. It was quiet. Safe. Enough. And that was the ending I never thought I'd get. Not revenge. Not payback. Just the slow, solid, ordinary beauty of peace. I let it all go. The house. The debt. The expectation. I kept the only thing that mattered. Myself. And my son. Safe and finally free.